Hey everybody, this is Kevin from the Opportunity Channel. This is week 8, sponsored by shopabizop.com. My guest this week, CEO founder, is Lou Cattaruzza from the Bremen Group. Lou, this is a little bit different than some of the other interviews that I've done. So I wanted to more sit back and listen to, let you speak to what you've done in the industry, your history, and potentially allow people to know how to get in touch with you and what you do.
Sure. Very good. So, thank you, by the way, Kevin, for inviting me on to
Thank
do
you.
this. I enjoy sharing my experience. As I mentioned to you, you're seeing an old white guy with that looks like Santa Claus, and figure out how in the world is this guy doing business. So
Pretty well.
I didn't look like this all the time. But in my younger days, I'm an immigrant from Italy. I came here when I was 8 years old. And in my early days, I discovered that my desires was really to be an entrepreneur, all the way from the early beginnings of having a paper route to in high school being the president of the ski club, and creating tours for the classrooms to go to, and making some money from the process. But at that point there, I was very ambitious. America was truly the land of opportunity and a place to come to experience. I certainly felt that what the opportunities were, and I experienced it. And I decided that early on, at age 19, I didn't go to college. I finished high school, and I decided to go to Madison Avenue. And from Madison Avenue, I worked there as whatever needed to be done. And from there, I graduated a year later to someone that managed the production of the point of purchase display company that the owner ran. And I really got my experience in having to deal with people, because at those factories there that were manufacturing, they're mostly Italians. So because I speak Italian fluently, I got a chance to be able to interact with them. And from that experience, by 19, it took me a year and a half to stay there. And then I really discovered how I really wanted to be myself. I started the first business, called it Case of Necessities, which manufactured hosiery out of Reading, Pennsylvania, packaged it in a display. And some people might remember the egg, the little egg that Haynes put out, the same type of situation. That's what we did. And I had a business that flourished. And of course, being an early entrepreneur, the things that you learn immediately is what you don't know. And of course, the biggest challenge that entrepreneurs have is their ego, thinking, that you have to, that you really know. You're labeled entrepreneur, so you must know what you're doing. And in fact, the biggest value is knowing what you don't know, knowing that it's important to ask people, knowing, and also failing, being willing to fail, because entrepreneurs need to have that. You will fail. There's no doubt about it if you're starting out, and it's brand new for you. Then most likely it doesn't have to be big failures, but it's the kind of failures that they can learn from. And so you have to look at it from a perspective of that these are challenges that are meant for you to get educated. And that's what happened. I ended up by the time I was 28 years old, becoming a stockbroker. And then with partners who I really got to understand the value of being interested in people versus interesting. So most people, salesmen especially, have this aura about them. They have to go out there and try to be interesting. Well, the fact of the matter is that what really is the attachment with people is when you're interested in someone. So I was interested in two people that were there in the small brokerage firm that had a lot of cobwebs around. In those days, we used to self-clear. And what happened is that they liked so much that I was committed to them, serving their needs, because who they were experienced, successful entrepreneurs. They had started companies that made them extremely wealthy. And so I, of course, wanted to learn from them. And here I was. They were much older than I was. And I just backed them. And I got so good at it. Every time they did a private placement, I said, just let me handle it. And I would raise all the money for it. And at that point there, what I said, listen, I can't deal with all the cobwebs in this place, this small boiler room that they had over there. And I said, why don't I start my own firm? And which I did. At that point there, we started Douglas Bremen and Company. I got a whole bunch of brokers that weren't happy from some other firms. I put it together and I grew it to 290 brokers, 19 branch offices. And I basically financed almost all of the new startup projects that these very successful entrepreneurs developed. So we got 30.
I want to interrupt you. How many? You've done like 40, right?
Yeah, close to that.
Wow.
And so we started. We raised in that period of time. Remember, this was in the 1990s, and then about that point there, we raised about $500 million in early stage projects, and some of them got acquired, went public. As a matter of fact, that's what we ended up doing, is basically taking companies public ourselves and syndicating with a whole bunch of others. And I used to clear through Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers and Oppenheimer, Pershing, and all of those were resources that I learned to really put together. So I learned the business as I was going, and they were there mentoring me as well. So it was an important element to have someone that you are willing to ask questions and be a sponge for that possibility. So, and then at that point there, some of the things that I learned especially is that a lot of entrepreneurs that start out and think they know what they're doing, 9 out of 10, unfortunately, get caught up with not really knowing how to scale, really not knowing how to manage their time, manage their money, and so they fail. And you have to end up with, as a banker, you have to end up with some cream that really makes up for all those failures. And some of those would an $8 public offering we did was acquired at $286 a share by Bristol Myers. These kind of results really make wealth occur. So now where I'm at today is I did that. Then I did a media company. I started an internet media company. I sold the firm. I kind of semi-retired in my early 50s. And I decided to then get back out there. I started an internet media company in 1996, which we really early on, in those days there, Mosaic, which is what the interface that allows us to see things, was just coming out. And so it was difficult to really take the project that I had. So the project was to be able to stream conferences throughout the world. So we produced biotech conference, wireless conference, fuel cell conference, energy conference, pharmacogenomic conferences. These are in partnership with the likes of Nature and Wireless. And so I would be interviewing people like Nicholas Negroponte from MIT and really wonderful content that we were streaming to people. Instead of having them to go to live conferences, they now can go to our worldwide corporate network, which is really earn a LinkedIn basically. And they could come there and network with people online, and they could watch the conferences and watch the work that was being done. Anyway, I took that company up to a valuation of $290 million. And unfortunately, the dot-com bubble burst 3 days before I had a $20 million commitment from my board. And of course, it was a commitment using their stock to leverage and finance our company. And 3 days later, the money didn't come in. Their stock went from $150 to $3, and we were one of the victims. A big learning experience, but the journey, which is, by the way, probably the most important thing that one has to understand when they're an entrepreneur. Enjoy the ride. It is wonderful. I got to travel the world. I got to meet the most important, valuable, wonderful people who really contributed to the betterment of the human condition. that is where you really get the satisfaction and understanding what it really means to be an entrepreneur. So now, where we are today, I basically run an organization, a consulting company called Bremen Group. And Bremen Group is made up of associates that I like to train to be able to go out there and become power brokers. And a power broker is someone that, whether you buy and sell a business, whether you help finance an organization, whether you strategically put things together, our organization does that for those type of projects. And early stage companies are really our niche. So we buy and sell companies, we help finance companies, and we strategically help organizations grow their business. One of the projects that we have that's really exciting is the referral fee exchange. This is a program that allows anybody to have insurance for referral fee transactions. How many times do you know of that you would have loved to refer somebody to somebody if you would have asked them, do you pay a referral fee, but you're worried that you're not going to get paid? Well, this organization
happened last week.
So this organization takes that worry away. You do it through us. We handle the legal, we handle the insurance, and we make sure that referral fee payments are made. And the network on top allows the individual to be able to actually market to their other members in the exchange. You have a seat on that exchange. And it operates very similar like a stock exchange, except it doesn't transact securities and it doesn't track. But what it does is it allows people to do transactions when it comes to referral fees through the exchange and take away all the worry that most entrepreneurs have. And this is good for anyone that's starting a business. Matter of fact, one of the biggest clients that we have is an insurance company who now, insurance is a hard thing to sell, especially if you're starting out. So all of a sudden, if you have an ability to start a business connection business right next to the insurance practice, right? Now what you can do is you can help people get connected, receive referral fees, and then get the trust that you need to get in order to get it related to somebody, and then sell them insurance, and in fact they need it. So now you've got a connection business and also an insurance business. So they have 200 brokers, and we're talking to them about actually bringing the whole program into them. So with that, we're at that point. So some of the key elements that if you're starting out in business, I would tell you that you've got to learn how to be interested versus interesting. We are in today what they call the sharing society, right? And in the sharing society, LinkedIn started out, gave away everything, right? Come on in for even today, go use their platform, because eventually they'll probably do some business with you. Facebook's the same way. This is the understanding that what you do is you perform for someone, and then most likely you create a relationship, and also you create a transaction. We teach that through a course that I put together called Best Business Education Satisfaction Training. Satisfaction is the key element for success in starting a business. If you are not creating satisfaction for your customer, they won't refer you. If you're not creating satisfaction for your employees, they won't stay. And if you put those at the top of the rung, what you're building is a socially responsible business that's committed to the betterment of the client and the employee, basically to the betterment of the human condition. And that's a socially responsible way of doing business. I train people to do that under business education seminar training called BEST. And besides that, of course, I do my Living SOS program that really promotes my satisfaction operating system to anybody whose life is just not satisfied. And I hold seminars for that online. We're about to do some retreats in places like Italy and Bali and places like that, where people can come and we can spend 7 days really enjoying the experience and getting to know oneself. Because today I am more promoting wellness in the context of business, so that really you have a joy in creating something that makes a difference to others, and also the ability to share my experience to help people who need the help that for themselves.
Everything you said, I love. Part of the reason why I wanted this message to get out is, and this just last week, there's many type of referrals that I would love to give to people, but I know I'm never going to get paid.
Right.
And it's a really difficult process, particularly when you know the person well. You connected the two people, and any myriad of different things can happen. So within a protected referral network, it's a much better situation for all parties, in my opinion. And it's also lends, I use the word efficacy too much, but it lends a lot of credibility to the people that you're dealing with, when obviously a referral is what everybody wants. I was just watching a referral person talk about how to get referrals on YouTube, and no offense, he was completely wrong. But referrals, really, you need to get educated on how to do what a referral really is. But honestly, if you have a product that is that good, people are going to refer you, as you said, of interest point.
Product or service.
What's that?
A product or service.
A product or service, and or yourself, if it's yourself or your branding or whatever it might be. But utilizing a network and becoming part of a network rather than the lone wolf is, in my opinion, more advantageous, because you can feed off of other people's business. But like you said, as far as the human condition, and to wrap up my interest in the backside of this, is you get to do good for other people that necessarily you may never meet in your lifetime.
That's right.
That may 3 years from now come back and do something great for you. And that's worth more than money.
Yeah, it's interesting that business comes to me today, and it comes to me because of where I've been, what I've done for other people. I think one of the most exciting things that has happened recently for me is really getting to understand my nature. What I'm meant to do, why, how did I do that? So I want to share a small story with you about 4 months ago. I was in Target, and I'm walking down the aisle, and a little boy runs over to me, and he looks up at me and he says, "Are you Santa Claus?" And so I looked down at him and I said, "No, I'm sorry. I am his brother, though." And he, of course, then grabbed my legs and hugged me. And so I, at that point, discovered my nature. So I understand in the work that I do today, and the kind of, I've done a lot of psychology and all the other things that, if you go to my website at loucattaruzza.com, you'll get to see all the podcasts.
Say it again slowly.
Yeah, it's Lou, L-O-U, Cattaruzza, CATTARUZZA.com. And you'll see the podcast of the people that I actually have been involved with and so forth. And really, they're all coming today to that understanding that the spiritual side of us and the business side of us can meld, and science, and come together, all comes together, and it becomes so clear that we are wired to be able to contribute. Because when we trigger contribution by giving, by caring, hormones that are in us, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, goes to that part of our brain that puts us in a state of well-being. So we're meant to do that. Unfortunately, we just don't understand that. So I want people to get that. And so I volunteer in a local children's hospial twice a week, because I get more out of it.
I didn't know that.
I get more out of it than what you put in. And it's just
volunteering.
Yeah.
It's a great thing that telling nobody, what you're doing. Not everything needs to be on Facebook or, whatever it might be. And living SOS, the other program we're going to get to in future episodes. This is going to be an ongoing thing, probably every 4 to 6 weeks. We're going to touch on different segments, not only how to get more involved with you, but the type of people you're looking to get involved with.
Yeah.
and the people that can really benefit.
I'm here to help. That's where I'm at. I'm here to help people. And it doesn't matter to me whether you're a not-for-profit. I sit on not-for-profit boards. It's whatever it takes. So I'm here to do that. My journey is a much smaller journey than a lot of the young entrepreneurs that are out there. I just tell them it's great to start from this perspective. Get into recognizing how much true value you will get in understanding understanding how what a benefit it is to be an entrepreneur and to be the creator of your own destiny. It's just an amazing opportunity that one has. And I'm here to support and endorse anybody that is wanting to do that. So thank you again, James, for this opportunity.
Not a problem. I really appreciate it. What I would love to do is connect anybody who is still listening all the way to the end, and we appreciate it. But subscribe at the bottom. We're also going to be putting links at the front and a little bit more prep on some of the videos, as we go forward. But as we discussed, we are trying to stay very authentic. Most of the people operating businesses, near 90% now, are operating out of their home, much like we are. And that's the ilk of person that we're trying to speak to and help. How can they get started with you? What's the best way to connect?
I was thinking, James, in the future, maybe the audience would like to even participate while we're on and ask questions. We have the opportunity of being able to do that as well.
Live webinars are coming in the future. I know you're huge into that. And I actually want to participate in yours first to get a little bit of a feel. A lot of people have wanted to put together a group, and I think that might be where we can go with this.
Sure.
And maybe you can help guide that.
Yeah, absolutely. More than happy to do so.
Well, in the interim, before we do episode 2 or the 2.0, how can they reach you by phone? Can they reach you?
Yeah, they could reach me. Go to my website at LOU Cattaruzza CATTARUZZA.com. That's one. You can go to Bremen BA, Bremen Business Advisors, Bremen BREMENBA.com if you're interested in learning about that organization. And some of the really wonderful people that are involved. One of them is with the United Nations. And so we're looking for great projects. If you have projects out there, please let us know, and I'll be more than happy to steer you to the kind of business connections you need to be successful. And then of course join the referral fee exchange if you're interested in if you're a broker or an agent and you want to be, or an entrepreneur and you want to be able to actually make some extra money referring people to each other, then go to the referral fee exchange. You'll be able to join there.
Fantastic. One thing I do want to do is let people know on Shop a Biz Up, there is going to be an article related to this that is going to give a little bit more in-depth of a battery of questions that you were kind enough to answer that go much more in depth about startups, who, what, why, when, and where. So get that at shopabizup.com. Make sure to subscribe below. And we look forward to having you back as a guest.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Bye-bye.